Okay, so as I mentioned, Blender and Lightwave are using the same scale, so that a meter in Blender is a meter in Lightwave. However, Maya, we get into a little bit more complex situation because a unit in Maya equals 1 centimeter, right? So this is the cube I brought from Blender, and you can see it's 2 units by 2 units, but a unit in Maya equals a centimeter. And so again, you have the same situation with the lights and the dynamics and so on, and there's a little bit more complexity with the in dynamics, the nucleus physics engine, but that's another subject. For everything else, there's MasterCard. So anyway, you got 1 centimeter for a unit in Maya, which makes it 100 times too small. And going out of Maya is 100 times too big. That's the way it works, right? So I have a list of the different applications and how this all fits together. So Blender, Lightwave, and Houdini all are on a scale of 1 meter equals 1 meter. One unit is 1 meter, right? So I just think of them as sort of the scale, the 1 scale group. They're 1 to 1 to 1, right? Now, 3D Max, Softimage, and Unity, they have a different scale, so that basically whatever your meter is in Blender, Lightwave, or Houdini, it's got to be times 10 to make 1 meter in 3D Max, Softimage, and Unity. So I call these the 10 group, right? Basically by what you have to scale up to. And then in Maya, if you have a 1 meter box here in Blender, Lightwave, or Houdini, and you bring it into Maya, you got to scale up by 100 to make it a meter again, right? And so going the other way, you have the reverse scale. So let's look at this this little graphic here. So you have your program space on the left and the program space on the right, like where you're coming from and going to, right? And then this universal space, which apparently, think of this as that which is saved on the hard drive in the file, the code that's in the file, the export format. From what I can tell, unless you change the export scale at the program level and export it into this universal space by one of these values, it will still come over to the other side as a 1. But that 1 will have a different value. You follow what I mean? So, okay, so if you have a 1 meter box here and you bring it into Maya, you haven't done anything in universal space but said times 1, which means basically nothing. You've only brought in a value of 1. And Maya says, well, okay, I'm going to arbitrarily assign a value to 1, and I'm going to say that that is 1 centimeter. So now the problem becomes 1 over here was a meter. So now somewhere along the lines, either in the import or export, or when you get it to Maya, you got to either times it by 100 to get up to 1 meter to get back to where it was over here, or if you're coming back the other way from Maya, it's going to be 100 times bigger. Then you got to compensate one way or the other in this universal space, either in the import or export or what have you, and by 0.01 to get over back to 1, right? So 1/100th of 100 is 1. That's the way that works. So Unity and Softimage are in this 10 scale, right? So if you're going Blender, do import export, and then you come out to Softimage or Unity, you got to go times 10 somewhere in that space. So you got to go times 10, and coming back from, let's say, Softimage over to Blender, you would be going 0.1 to get back to 1. You see what I'm saying? So it looks kind of weird and confusing, but it's fairly simple. And if you just think of it like this, that these are the 3 scales that are possible, and none of the other programs I've ever come up with or encountered have been anything other than these 3 options, right? That includes ZBrush, Mudbox, Unreal Engine. Those are all tuned the same as Maya, right? So you just got to do the math back and forth. That's all you got to do. It's pretty simple. It's either going to be times nothing, times 1. It's going to be times 10 or times 100, or divided by 0.01, 0.1, or nothing to come back. Okay, so that's really all you got to do, and it should all be handled at the import and export phase, not within the program.